Guys, it's Prince with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of a voice over IP phone system. Again, we're going to go into great depth of the pros and the cons of a voice over IP phone system. So let's dive right in. So approximately 31% of the business market is currently using a business voice over IP phone system, whether that be in like the hosted capacity or the, VoIP PBX capacity. Supposedly, according to just random statistics that I pulled up online, it looks like on average about 30% of folks on the market are using it. So before we get into these pros and cons, understand that back in the day when voice over IP first kind of hit the scene, it really did have more cons than pros. It was very high priced. It was quite unstable. I actually have been working in the industry. I want to say that voice over IP came out somewhere around like 95, and then I think it became like available or somewhat generally affordable for businesses in like the early 2000s. I got into voice over IP somewhere around, I want to say about 2004, 2005. So I've seen it go from its infancy where it was like, oh God, we're definitely not going voice over IP because of the cons and the high cost, to where now, as I stated, 31% of businesses approximately in the United States and growing have adopted voice over IP. So that being said, I'm hoping that for those of you who are starting to see the rise in it, and you're running into the point where your old phone system is probably, nearing end of life, or you're looking for a better communication system, whether it be for a new business or because your business is growing, and the features and promises of voice over IP look promising, I'm going to give you a very non-biased kind of here's the pros and here's the God to honest truth cons and what you can expect if you were to adopt voice over IP. So again, let's jump to it. So going straight into the pros. Communicate from anywhere. So the thing with the voice over IP phone system these days, especially with the hosted carriers, is you can quite literally communicate from anywhere. For those of you who are watching this video that don't know, you know that my company is home based out of Virginia. We're based out of the United States, but I also have a home in Costa Rica as well. So, for those of you watching that have talked to me, you know that you really can't tell where I'm at when you talk to me. If I call you, you get the caller ID from 804, which is Richmond, Virginia. So you think I'm calling you in Richmond. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It depends on where I'm at during that particular period in time. But that is one of the beauties of a voice over IP phone system, is you can quite literally work from anywhere. Because of the internet protocol, the internet is everywhere. So to have a phone system that harnesses the power of the internet and the beauty of internet routing, and be able to route calls from here to there, no matter where you are or where your contact or client is, it gives you the ability to essentially work from anywhere, with the appearance of still being where, your business is originally or supposedly saying that it is based out of. The other nice thing about that is mobility, obviously, but like I said, it gives your customers the appearance that you're always available or that you're always in the office. No client likes to buy from an individual or for a company that they feel like the person is never in the same place. They're always out and about, or they're trying to serve them or handle a customer service need on the run. They like the idea of knowing that that person, has a home base and is there and ready to help them. With a voice over IP phone system, it gives you the best of both worlds. It gives you the appearance of being readily available to your clients and contacts at all times, but it gives you the ability to move around a bit, so you're not tethered to a desk, so to speak. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, make changes to your phone system on the fly. This is actually a pretty big one, to be able to make changes to your phone system not only on the fly or remotely, but without having to call the carrier. None of us like to call a 1-800 number and sit on hold and wait to talk to your carrier just to say, hey, I just waited 45 minutes on hold with Comcast or Verizon or whatever just to tell you guys I need to forward my phone lines to this number because I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks, or I need to, wait on hold for 45 minutes because you need to add some features or add another phone or extension for a new employee or something like that, or make a change to an extension for an employee that is replacing a previous employee or associate to your company. With a voice over IP phone system, you quite literally, with all of the carriers that I know of, you literally have a dashboard that is assigned to you, and then your staff has logins as well for individual users. You have an administration panel that's assigned to you where you can go in and make basic changes and even some super advanced changes. That's a big thing because nobody loves calling the phone provider if they don't have to. Nobody loves waiting on hold. Nobody loves calling a customer service department where they've got to divulge a bunch of information and possibly have to deal with a bunch of technical stuff. So the ability to have a back-end portal, which most voice over IP phone systems provide by default these days, the ability to have a back-end portal that is user-friendly and that you can change on the fly, even after hours when most of the carriers aren't going to be able to answer your phone call anyways, or you could even change it on a holiday or something like that when they're going to be closed and definitely not answering your phone calls. That is huge. So pro number 2 is the ability to make changes to the system on the fly without having to get the carrier involved. Kind of a DIY, like a do-it-yourself type of thing, which is really big for a lot of the clients that we see. Pro number 3 is just simply put, and I am living witness to that, not only for our business because we use a voice over IP phone system, but because, as you guys know, I work with hundreds of companies nationwide on helping them find the right voice over IP phone system. Pro number 3 is a voice over IP phone system will save you money. Period. End of story. It's going to save you money. The reason it's going to save you money is because typically, without going into too much of the number breakdown, because I cover this in some other videos. So at the end of this video, I'll probably go ahead and put a link and a thumbnail to one of the videos that breaks this down a little bit better. Actually, I will. Analog lines, if you're not using a voice over IP system these days or a hosted voice over IP system, I can pretty much only assume that you're using old, analog lines. Analog lines will cost you significantly more than a voice over IP phone system. Typically, a voice over IP phone system will cost you per extension, whereas you would be paying per line with an analog phone system. It'll cost you about 25 to 30% or more less than what you're paying per line to the analog phone providers. So, in short, a voice over IP phone system will save you money. It's also going to save you money because with analog phone service, you're paying a monthly fee and all you're getting is phone service. It's still up to you to get a phone system to connect to those copper analog phone lines. With a voice over IP phone system, especially the hosted carriers, you've got everything wrapped into one. You've got your phone service, which would be the equivalent of the old phone lines that you were already paying for, wrapped in with a phone system that has advanced features like caller ID, call waiting, call transfer, conference calling. The list goes on and on and on. The biggest thing is, in comparison to traditional phone systems, for those of you that are watching that are not just using regular analog lines that have like some phones connected to it, if you're using a traditional phone system, the cost of ownership of a hosted voice over IP phone system in comparison to the cost of ownership of a traditional, just all out hardware phone system where you got the big hardware on the back wall with all the wires coming to it and the proprietary equipment, it is significantly cheaper and also has a much lower probability of hardware failure, in comparison to traditional phone systems. So anyways, in short, hosted voice over IP phone system or voice over IP phone system in general is cheaper than old traditional PBXs or analog phone lines. Pro number 4 is it gives your staff the ability to work remotely. Now, this is a little bit different than the previous point that we went into where I discussed the idea of, gives you the ability to, be on the run and have the appearance of being in the office and be reached at the same number even though you're not. This is something totally different. Many of you that I've talked to in the past that I've worked with for your phone systems, home-based businesses is kind of where it's at these days. More and more businesses are not only doing the home-based business thing, but they're allowing their employees to work from home. I'll give you a great example. My mother works at Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. She's been there for as long as I've been living. She's been there for almost close to 40 years now. I'm only 38 years old at the time of this video, so she's been there, I want to say 40 years plus, probably pushing close to 39 or 41 years. So she's quite literally been at Anthem since before I was born. When I was growing up, I always remember that she always went to an office, which was one of the biggest corporate headquarters that Anthem has, which is out in Richmond, Virginia, off of Staples Mill Road. For now, I want to say close to the last 6 or 7 years, she has worked from home and been part of their work from home program. She has a separate internet, which they pay for, which is through Comcast. And then she has a phone that they gave her, which is an IP phone. It's a voice over IP phone that's provided by the corporation that has a number that is tied directly to her and her extension for the so that Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield customers can reach her. What's the benefits of that for the business? Well, for one, statistics have already showed that people that work from home are happier employees. They really are. They're not on the. Not only are they statistically emotionally happier, they have a lower impact on the environment because they're not driving back and forth from work. They wake up and just literally go to work. They save more money in turn because they're not spending money on lunch, like going out to eat on their lunch break and things like that. Because they, can order takeout or they can make food in their own kitchen and whatnot. So it actually costs the corporation, you, the business owner or business operation manager that's watching this video, a lot less money if you can afford the ability to your employees to work from home. So that being said, it gives you the ability to have a mobile workforce. One thing that I want to throw out there is, whereas in the past, a business, when they were doing the hiring process, they only had the ability to say hire people within the immediate area because nobody's going to drive 5 or 6 hours to work every day from out of state. They're going to be naturally looking for people that are local to the area. If you have a voice over IP phone system that has the ability to have remote workers, it means that now you have opened up the ability to hire people from a much broader spectrum. People out of state, people out of city that have the skill set you're looking for, but otherwise would not be able to apply for the job or afford the commute to the job every single day because they just, quite frankly, were too far from your office. So it's a win-win for everybody. Voice over IP phone systems, in short, allows for you to basically be able to introduce the idea of remote staff and broaden your employment base, so to speak, for your business. So that is pro number 4. Pro number 5, which we kind of got into a little bit already. I went into it on 1, but we're going to get into it again. And again, I'm going to reference a video that goes into much more better number breakdown, is reduce the cost of your monthly cost of your business communications. In short, without going into the numbers breakdown, like I said, there's another video that I did where I go into the raw number breakdown of that, which I'll reference. A hosted voice over IP phone system is going to cost your business significantly less for its monthly communication costs in the long run. The other thing about it is as you expand, as you need to add on new locations or add new employees, add new phones, the cost is literally thousands and thousands of dollars less than what it costs to do the same thing with an old traditional PBX or old phone systems or with analog lines. So in short, expect to save somewhere around 30% or more with a hosted voice over IP phone system, but also expect almost little to no cost to add on additional extensions or to expand your business or to expand your existing voice over IP phone system into a new location. It's practically a plug and play system with hardly any hardware costs, where in most cases, the providers will give you the phones for free because they want your business and they want to keep your business as you expand and things like that. So expect hardly any upfront cost and hardly any hardware cost from a dollar standpoint as you expand and grow. Pro number 6 is free long distance calls. And where there is a long distance charge in specific countries, expect literally pennies on the dollar as far as your per minute cost. Let's talk about the free long distance calls first, and then we'll get into the rate charge difference between traditional phone systems and analog systems. Most of the phone systems that I've worked with out there, Nextiva, Vonage Business, Ring Central, Jive, who else? 8x8, Ring Central, the list goes on and on and on. I've worked with them all. Most of them consider all calls in the United States within the 50 states, as well as Canada, for whatever reason. They consider all of that domestic calls. So for most of the phone system, the hosted voice over IP phone system carriers, you can literally call any states in the United States with no long distance charges, unlimited, as well as Canada. That's not typical with old traditional systems or analog lines. With those systems, for those of you who are watching, you already know, you either pay a long distance per minute charge, which can be as high as 10 to 35 cents per minute, or you have to pay an additional charge per month, which can be as high as like $15 to $25 extra per month to get like a long distance, an unlimited long distance package or anything like that, or something like that. With the voice over IP carriers, standard is being able to call across state lines in the United States everywhere in Canada. That's a big plus. Now, for those of you who are watching, and I've worked with people like this before, that need to call places like Mexico, the Latin Americas, Spain, Japan, China for international commerce reasons, yes, you are going to pay a long distance charge, but the charges are significantly reduced in comparison to what you are probably already paying with a non-VoIP solution. I'm not going to go into those rates, but I am going to say, if you're somebody that's watching this video right now and you're watching this and you're saying, my business contacts Mexico, or we contact Japan or China, or, this foreign country for business, I would be curious to know what it would cost us if we switched to a hosted voice over IP system, what the difference in that rate charge would be if we were to switch to VoIP versus what we're paying now. Drop me a line, send me an email, or message me, let me know exactly what it is that you're paying per minute for whatever country it is that you are concerned about in question. And then I have no problem with emailing you back and saying, hey, I did a little research on your request. Through this carrier, you would pay this much less at this rate per minute. Through this carrier, you pay this much. I don't mind sending you a couple of options because I have access to that information quickly within practically just the snap of a finger. So just, if you're somebody watching this and you're curious to see the numbers, let me know. But the short of it is, without going into the number details, you will pay significantly less per minute for what is considered, international long distance with a hosted voice over IP provider than you ever will with the analog carriers or with a traditional phone system. So let's get into the cons of a voice over IP phone system. Con number one, reliance on internet. For those of you who are watching, it's no big secret, a voice over IP phone system, the IP in VoIP means internet protocol. Yes, your phone system is reliant on the internet. So what that means is when you lose internet in your office where you have a VoIP phone system, you're going to lose communication with your VoIP phones on the desk. But there is a backup here. There's a catch. Most of the voice over IP carriers these days, they include something called call continuity, which is something that you can, we typically recommend you set this up when you set up your system initially, but you can set this up at a later date in the event of an emergency from another location where the internet is working, like from your home office, if you're forced to go there because the internet has dropped in your office. Basically, what call continuity does is this. You go into a phone system with the carrier, you go into the online portal, into the back end, and you basically instruct the system, okay, for my main number, in the event that there is no internet or the system is down because of natural disaster or our office has lost power or whatever, the short of it is that your phone system can't communicate with the cloud of the provider in question that you are using. You give it preset instructions on where to forward your calls. The calls are not forwarded at your office where you've either lost internet or lost power, had a natural disaster. The calls are forwarded up in the cloud, up with the provider. The minute you lose internet or the minute you lose power or whatever it may be, your voice over IP service provider, even though they may not know why you're not connected with them, they can see in their system, and their system automatically detects that for some way, shape, or reason or form or another, you have lost communication with their cloud, the Vonage cloud, the Nextiva cloud, the Jive cloud, or whatever it may be. So when you go in and set up call continuity in your system when the system is online, basically you are telling the system, in the event that my system can't communicate with my provider's cloud, forward all calls that come into my main number to here. Forward all calls that come into this extension here. And you can, the options are limitless. You can do it for all calls that come into the business, or you can do it for the main number and then do it differently for each individual person in your office, if that's what you want to do. So there is a backup for that. So even though that is a con of voice over IP, you are relying on the internet to be able to make internal calls. There is a backup so that you won't miss calls, and your voicemail will even continue to work as well when people call in and things like that. Con number 2, and as you guys know, I've worked with all of the carriers. I'm not going to sit here and lie with you guys. There's carriers that I recommend. For most of you that have talked with me and seen other parts of our blog and our YouTube, you know that. And then there's carriers that I absolutely don't recommend because of sneaky, gimmicky pricing and really strange contracts and just hard to understand stuff. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm going to give a couple of examples, okay? I had somebody once that we were chatting with about Vonage Business. We thought we offered them a very good deal and a very good pricing plan through Vonage. We got them special pricing that was above and beyond what they were even able to get when they went to Vonage Direct. But they chose to go with another provider, and I'm not going to mention that provider's name because we represent all of the providers, so we know who this provider is. Later, after they had signed an agreement and realized that they were screwed, it was about 6 months later, I talked with one of the heads of the company, and I found out a few things. Number one, they told them that the phones were going to be free. The phones weren't actually free. What the phones actually were was somehow, some way, shape, or form or another, the provider had somehow padded their installation and their contract with an additional $6,000, which was comprised of the phones, the cost of the actual hardware for the phones. This was a place that needed like 16 extensions, by the way. So you do 16 divided by approximately 6,000, and you can, 6,000 divided by 16, and you can come up with the math of what they paid for phones. That's not free. But the provider had something in their weird contract where if they canceled the service, even though they canceled the service, they were still on the hook with the phones. Even funnier was they had this strange pricing plan. When we lost the deal, they came to me and said, oh, well, Vonage offered us about $19 a month, and these guys are going to offer for unlimited, $19 a month per extension. And these guys offered us like, $6.99 a month. What I found out later when they came back to me and let me look at their contract was, yes, they were offered $6.99 per month per extension. What the catch was every single extension was metered and had something like 200 minutes a month of talk time. I mean, come on. I mean, I burn up 200 minutes of talk time on my voice over IP system with Vonage in literally like less than a week, in a week's time. So they thought they were paying like $6.99 a month per extension, but really what the guy told me was it was equating out to like averaging $27 to $36 a month because every single person on the system was going over that limit and then going into the overage realm. So the short of it is, without getting into it, is I wouldn't really call them scams. It's just there's a lot of providers out there that come up with these plans that look really, really cheap on paper on the monthly thing. Like, oh man, I can get this hosted IP phone system for my whole staff for like $50 a month, which is unheard of. And then before you know it, you're paying like $350, $400 a month or something like that. So that's one thing that I see that's a common thing in the industry. Another thing is really, really gimmicky contracts where the provider doesn't really follow through on the service. And then when the client tries to get out of the contract, they realize when they look at the contract, even though the service absolutely sucks, they're actually better off to just stay in the contract and deal with it than to deal with the hidden terms that they never realized were there to try to get out of the contract. They would just get burned financially. They would just get burned so badly financially that they would actually just put up with the crap than to get out of it. And that's a really sad situation to be in. You wouldn't believe how many people that I've seen that have that have came to me and said, hey, Prince, I found your website. I see that you represent all providers. We've got the worst hosted provider right now, and I've got more than enough solutions to help them, but it doesn't even matter because the contract that they signed would burn them so bad financially and cause so much financial turmoil to their business that honestly, they're better off to just eat it and just deal with it until the end of the term. You'd be surprised how many people I've come across like that. And I've genuinely felt bad for because I know that I could help them and get them a system that would really do their business some justice if they weren't stuck in a contract that somebody really kind of pulled the wool over their eyes on. So anyways, con number 3 is poor call quality or poor voice quality, or what we call just bad service. I'm just going to throw this out there. Really, nothing out there is more stable than an old analog line, but let's be real. Analog phone lines are overpriced, and they're just the thing of the past. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I'm going to say an old saying that I tell people all the time that I've been saying for years since I've been in the industry of voice over IP. Your voice over IP phone system is always only as good as the network that it's on. I'm going to say that again. Your voice over IP phone system is only as good as the network in your office. 99.5% of the time, whenever I hear anybody in the United States that says, oh my God, I had voice over IP and it's so bad, or this or that, or I'm sorry, not those people, the ones that currently have it and will say they have it and they hate it. Whenever I tell them, hey, you should get your IT guy to look into this or whatever, if they actually heed my words and investigate the problem, 99.5% of the time, it's always their network. It's never the carrier. I mean, do the carriers have problems? Sometimes, yes. Are they perfect? No. But 99.5% of the time, I mean, I'm an IT guy, you guys. I'm an old IT guy, so I've troubleshot this stuff, even in my own office. 99.5% of the time, if you're having issues with call quality and things like that, it's not your provider, it's your router or your switch. So the short of it is does voice over IP or hosted voice over IP phone systems have poor call quality? It can, yes. I've seen some really big nightmares with it. But the truth of the matter is it just means you need to get with your IT guy, or if you're the IT person, you need to get with the provider and you need to get down to the bottom of what on your network is causing call breakup, dropped calls, failed transfers, things like that. You know, phones that are offline consistently, or that go on and offline sporadically with no pattern. The nice thing here is whoever your provider is, most of all of them that I've worked with have very good customer service, and they want to fix the problem because they want to keep your business. They don't want you canceling. So if you get with them and say, hey, I'm having these problems, most of those companies have engineers on staff that can log into your network remotely and look at the settings in your switches and routers and, install software to look at the traffic flow on your network, and they can help you find out what is causing the call quality issues on your network and resolve it. So that's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that voice over IP is more stable than analog, because it's not. But I do think it's better, and I do think that if you come across call quality issues, they can easily be resolved if you don't panic and you've got the right mindset and you get somebody that's got a little technical background to get with your provider and get to the bottom of it. We're not talking fixing problems in days. We're talking fixing it in a matter of hours. All right, con number 4, and it is the final con, is vendor dependency. Let's be real. If you're using a hosted voice over IP phone system, you're paying a monthly bill. So you are dependent on your vendor. Really, the short of that is pick wisely. This is a shameless plug for our business, but this is one of the reasons why our service is so valuable, because there are so many hosted voice over IP providers out there. There's many, many, many of them, and we do represent them all. But there's a lot of them that I really would not recommend to anybody. So once you get one, you've transferred your phone numbers to these guys, you're on a contract and all that kind of stuff. Plainly put, you're kind of stuck, at least for 1 to 2 years or something like that. I really recommend that you pick wisely. If you're somebody that's technical and that's watching this and you're thinking, oh, Prince, I don't need your service for you to pick, that's fine. Just pick wisely. If you're somebody that's watching this and you don't know a lot about the market or the industry or who's out there and who's better than the other and why you should go over this one, go with this voice over IP carrier versus that one, I would really encourage you to contact me, and I'll give you the honest to God truth of which ones are better or worse, and which ones have pros and cons and why. But the short of it is when you do go into this agreement or sign this contract or get your phones with these guys, you're not stuck forever. It is the law that you can move to another carrier. So you are protected by law there, but you're still kind of stuck. I mean, you might be stuck with big early termination fees, or, you might have to go through a hassle to get your phone number from the carrier to another one. So you really do need to pick wisely, because you are quite frankly dependent or at the mercy of how stable and reliable or how unstable and unreliable the provider that you go with is. So in conclusion, if you're watching this video, I've just given you, for the most part, the pros and cons of voice over IP and some things that you need to consider before you adopt voice over IP. If you're watching this video and you're thinking about making the switch to voice over IP, or you've already got one and you're thinking about going with another carrier or expanding with a different carrier or something like that for your business, give me a call. That's what I do. I represent all the hosted voice over IP providers in the United States. I can typically get better pricing on plans, agreements, solutions, and phones than you can if you went direct. So feel free to reach out to me and, let me know whatever it is that I can help you with. Again, this is Prince Rich ending the video, the pros and cons of a voice over IP phone system. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys again in the next video.